biological psycho.
Okay.
Not psycho.
Oh yeah, you are, baby.
No, not. Mommy, booty.
Okay.
Booty.
Okay.
Booty, booty.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. Oops.
You guys are crazy.
She started. Ow!
Oh God. Okay. Are you okay? Persephone, keep your hands to yourself, young lady.
I'm gonna record the conversation because I think it's hilarious. If he actually hops in here,
I hope he does, man. I'm ready.
I don't think he will. I'm putting it on my little Twitch channel because I'm playing Bladepoint at the same time.
How is it? I downloaded it, but I haven't played yet. I
I
haven't
played
started.
they had a little beta early access for Xbox. I played that last week. Ton of fun. I won the first match I played. Came second the next match. Came second the next match after that. So maybe I was just playing against people who weren't good. But I was trashing people.
I know my backlog is crazy because my backlog is full of nothing but games that take like 30 hours, 40 hours, and I'm like, I'll play one for 2 hours, and I'm like, ooh, let me download the other one. When I start that, and I'm like, all right, well, which one am I finishing first?
That's always the question.
Yeah, I'm real back, so I've actually never finished The Witcher 3. I got halfway through and lost my data, so that I just gave up, and now I'm like, you know what, let me try again.
I mean, that's kind of fair. I think I've only played a little bit of that.
Hmm?
Like The Witcher looked cool, but I didn't care about it till the show came out because I didn't know anything about it. And then I thought I was like, okay, I'll hop on and try it, but I don't know. There's just so much to do. I couldn't figure out a reason to care about doing any of it.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't care about, like battle mechanics and stuff. That I'm just like, can I just like attack things and be the Witcher?
Exactly. Like I was trying to figure out what the mission was, and then I was like, where do I go? I ran into someone random. I'm like, who are you? And he beat me up. I'm like, what is the point of that? Why did he hit me? And I couldn't figure out. It just didn't click for me, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I mean,
But
the Cyberpunk is basically The Witcher with electricity. Like that's basically what it is. The more I play it, I'm like, this is literally The Witcher.
see, I put down Cyberpunk until the updates came. So now it's supposed to be fixed. I need to go play it again because everything should be good
Yeah,
now, if I'm not mistaken.
it's not bad. I mean, I played it when the bugs came out. I had a PC back then, so I played it, and then it was fine. Like, I mean, I think it was overhyped, but
Well, yeah, it had all the hype in the world.
yeah, it was no way it was going to measure up to it. I mean, I'm still surprised Elden Ring was as good as it was.
I still have to finish that. I actually haven't beat it all the way because I was doing it only when streaming, and I stopped streaming
Yeah.
because I got the job and everything. So I gotta get back to it. But let's talk some Star Wars. Let's.
Oh my gosh, please do. Hold on, let me like this one. I wrote up half of it, and I was like, give me 1 second, sir.
Uh-huh. So I'm playing. I'm doing a little cloud streaming to play Bladepoint on my computer, and the controller is way too sensitive. But I don't see where to fix that yet. It's a tutorial, so I guess maybe I gotta get through this before I can adjust that.
Oh yeah, I can't stand that because then you're like, well, I don't like the controls, so I don't want to play. But then when you get the option to actually change the controls, I'm like, it's too late. I already gave up on it.
That's why I'm glad I played on my Xbox first because I know it works right. I know how fun it is
Yeah.
when the sensitivity is correct.
All right, so Star Wars, right? Where are we starting?
Uh, so what have you seen? Have you seen the whole slate, like all the movies, all the TV shows, all the cartoons?
I've
Oh,
seen I've seen all the movies. I'm like hit or miss on the live action, and I've seen like half of the animated shows.
okay. I mean that's good. For me, I've seen it all except for the very last anime show, Resistance, because it felt very kid-like, a little more than all the other stuff does.
Yeah.
But for my money, we don't get episode 7, 8, and 9 if not for the Clone Wars TV show. Because that
Yep.
really expanded the lore and made the prequels make a lot more sense. And made Anakin's nonsense fall to the dark side actually make sense to fall to the dark side. So
Yeah.
I hold those in very high esteem.
Yeah, I get that, and I mean, looking at like what Disney wants to do, I have a feeling that Disney's trying to make a the Star Wars version of the MCU, and I have a feeling like they're kind of pissed because they probably had all the stuff planned years ahead, and then 7, 8, and 9 people want to erase them from their memory. So now it's like it's kind of like how DC had like all these plans, and now they
Oh,
just got to throw them away.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think I do think the Star Wars universe is going pretty strong. Um, they need to. They shouldn't have cut bait on Solo because Solo was good. People were just having a bit of Star Wars fatigue because The Last Jedi was bad. So I think they could have kept going, but now they're doing essentially expanding the animated verse with the Mandalorian and putting Ahsoka in it, making her TV show live action. And they still have the Bad Batch. I think they have a great thing going.
I I agree, but then I'm also wondering like who is who is the big if you're making an extended universe, you have to have a big overarching villain, right? Like there has to be at some point there has to be someone kind of on a Vader level, right? Kylo Ren wasn't it, and I thought and I wonder I'm very curious as to what happened with Snoke because
See, this is
Snoke,
why Last Jedi sucks. Because they cut him in
yes,
half,
like
and that's it.
and it was like it was the wildest way to kill him too. Like literally like some old switcheroo. That's like a Fortnite trap or something. Like
Dog, it was so weird. It's like, I get he's super arrogant, but if he is strong enough to make this bullshit force connection between Kylo and Rey, you can't tell this motherfucker's moving the lightsaber towards you.
yeah, bro. Like it was like the Star Wars version of like Looney Tunes when they throw the bomb and then they realize what it is and it's too late.
Yeah, like I'm sitting there like, okay, cool, he closed his eyes and be badass about it. Technically, everything you're saying is what Kylo is technically doing. He is turning the lightsaber. He is attacking his true enemy. Everything you said was correct. But are you that blinded you couldn't see you the target and not her? That's what
Yeah,
is a little far fetched for me. And Snoke had to have come from somewhere. He can't just pop up a Sith Lord. So,
yep.
and we're only what, like 30 years after the last movie, after Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, something about that. Yeah,
Yeah, so from that point, Snoke had to have been alive for that. And then again, I guess at this point, he's been written off as a clone. I'm not sure what he's a clone of, though, or who he's a clone of. I think he's a failed Palpatine clone, but I'm not certain.
that whole thing with the clones and like the Palpatine clones. I was like, all right, I understand, and I'm sure it is possible in the Star Wars universe to make a clone, but it's just the easy way out. Like you just went back to Palpatine. Like we're past that.
Yeah, I didn't love that, but I feel like they got stuck in Ryan Johnson's bullshit and had to pull it back together. Because was it J.J. Abrams? J.J. Abrams did the first movie, and the original plan was 3 directors, 3 writers, 3 movies. J.J. did his and handed it off to Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson shat on everything J.J. did, and they brought J.J. back to close it out, to kind of try to make sense of it all again. And he couldn't do it. I mean, I think well, the problem is they killed Snoke. So at that point, if you don't have a big bad, Kylo Ren is your big bad that has to get killed again. And I think that they didn't want Kylo Ren to be the ultimate evil person in this. It was supposed to be Snoke. So they have to replace Snoke with somebody, and being that there's nobody left on the board, it's Palpatine. Like, it's this evil threat that's been in the background the entire time, moving all the parts. They show the failed Snoke clones in that little room Palpatine was in. So they insinuate that it's always been him. And, I guess it does make sense that the cloning technology was not completely abandoned, because that was weird about the whole thing in the first place. They made an entire clone army and said, "Fuck it, we want regular soldiers." And you know what? We don't care about cloning anymore at all in the Star Wars universe. So I am okay that cloning came back. I don't love that Palpatine was shunted into a clone that was really fucked up and took like 30 years to figure out how to make a new clone or something.
Yeah, and when you're thinking of villains, right? Like I think everyone because when they first talked about Force Awakens, they talked about the guy was like, yeah, J.J. Abrams said, I've looked into a lot of the extended universe,
Mm-hmm.
so I already had a feeling that at some point, the concept of Gray Jedi was going to show up, and I was ready for it. And I know watching or reading some of those like extended universe novels, like as a kid, there's a lot of tragedy in these novels and a lot of twists, like in friend groups, right?
Uh-huh.
So when the Force Awakens came out, the first thing that I thought was going to happen when you see the trailer, you see the end of the movie, Finn has a lightsaber in his hand, right? So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so at some point Finn is going to learn the ways of the Force and maybe be a Jedi, right? And then
Right.
the way that the Last Jedi started off, Ray was not feeling it. I'm thinking Ray is literally like that's what I thought would have happened because that would have been something different and something that people would have wanted to see, right? The main
Uh-huh.
character, heroine, is now the villain of the story.
That would have been fascinating. So what I thought we would get, right, and the way they should have done it is you have three Jedi or three Force users and three teachers. Rey is being taught by Luke, Finn is being taught by Leia, and you have Kylo being taught by Snoke. Leia, Luke's clearly a Jedi. Leia's gray because she learned everything but did not become a master and walked away from it to actually live in the real world. And then you have, of course, the dark side. And then the three of them converge in a way that I feel like Rey does end up being the bad guy to a degree, and Finn ultimately being the balance between those two. And something else happens, but I thought you would get the three of them, and because then you have you can have Rey doing her thing with Luke the same time when we learn that Leia learned all this from Luke too. And it would have been cool because they had the whole little cut scenes with Leia learning this stuff and learning the ways of the Jedi and not completing it because she went back to the Senate and running the galaxy, I guess. So it would have been very cool to find out she had these Force powers by her teaching Finn. And she can relate to, yeah, you know what? I wasn't a Jedi either. I had these skills and I was taught, but that wasn't my calling. I knew it wasn't. You have these skills. I can teach you, but I do not think you should be a Jedi. I don't think, like, she should be the one saying, I don't think we need the Jedi, because she's always been the one who's actually leading the people. She's always seen what the Jedi can't do and has done that for the world, or the galaxy. Like, the idea of Finn being more than Jedi would have been great for me. Like, Luke can be disillusioned. I thought Luke would be disillusioned. The way I saw it, because like Force Awakens, they said he walked away, so clearly he disillusioned, right? So for me, it was you/your dad beat Palpatine. Palpatine's done, Vader's done. You're a kid. You think the war is over, and then you find out there's a galaxy full of the Empire, and you have to go around the galaxy trying to put down an entire galactic empire. And I think Luke wasn't built during a war. He's not used to what the old Jedi were used to, fighting an extended galaxy-long war. And I can see that grating on him and him losing hope and him becoming dejected and not, he didn't sign up to be a general, which is what all the Jedi were back in the prequels.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see him being disillusioned by the realities of having to be that. And him losing, somehow Kylo going dark. I can see that being him walking away from it all because he was not. Once the First Order rose, he was not in a mindset to do it all again, to once again dismantle an empire and have to kill a ton of people. Because I could definitely see the killing weighing on Luke Skywalker. Because that's not what you signed up for. Dropping the Death Star once, okay. Dropping it twice, getting a little funky now. And then dismantling the entire fucking empire. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard on anybody. And he's the only Jedi to do it? He has to go to every battlefield, turn every tide? Yes. Of course Luke walks away. So, having him being a hermit on an island makes sense to me. Having Leia not know where he is makes sense to me. Cutting yourself off from the Force to a degree, that all makes sense. Because that's, where I think you end up fighting a war for 20 odd years. PTSD, Vietnam vet, Luke Skywalker. I can see all that happening. Him being a sarcastic hermit was so fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
the first thing he did was toss the lightsaber over his shoulder. Like, that's your dad's lightsaber. Like, that's like was one of the most important things across all of Star Wars. And you just, meh, this doesn't mean anything to me. Like, if you want to insinuate he no longer cares about this object, there are other ways to do it besides disrespecting the object. And one thing that someone pointed out is that throughout all of Star Wars history, from creation to The Last Jedi, nobody ever calls it we call it a light sword. He call it making fun of the thing.
Oh,
no one's
yeah.
ever called a lightsaber a light sword. But here we go, Ryan Johnson making fucking jokes. Like, it's weird. It's weird that Luke lost all reverence for the Jedi, but he kept all the sacred books in the tree, somewhere very nice and held together. Because he hates the Jedi? Or wait, no, he doesn't, because he has the fucking books. Like, I don't think Luke properly picks a side of this.
I don't think so either. And it's something really interesting that I've seen on like threads before, is that each trilogy is almost kind of like a different aspect of religion, right? You have Luke that literally just comes into the Jedi and he's like, I'm a firm believer, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Then you have Anakin coming to the Jedi and he's a firm believer until he starts seeing some things that he doesn't like, and then he becomes a full-blown, basically an atheist, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't believe at all. And then you get to Rey, and she's, I guess, the definition of agnostic, right? She hates the church, but
Yeah.
she likes the meaning of the church, or what it represents. So she doesn't really, she's not really a bad guy. But she also is thinking with her own head.
Yeah. I liked, and it's annoying because I like the idea of Rey. I like what they set up in the first movie. I liked her having unbreakable faith that her parents are coming back. I loved Han Solo meeting her, and he kept looking like he knew her. He kept looking like he knew exactly who her parents were, and knew for a fact they were not coming back. Every time they interacted, she's like, yeah, this, that, and the third, I'm waiting for my parents. And he's like, well, you can fly the ship, great. Why don't you join me and Chewie and just fly the universe of us? And she's like, no, my parents. And he always gives her a weird look when she says, my parents are coming back. And every time he did it, it implies he knows who they are, and he knows they're not coming back. And I love the tragedy of that, of him knowing and her just having this diehard faith. And it reminded me how Han Solo has no faith in the Force when those movies start. Complete agnostic, it's not real, and he grows into it. And here you have Rey with complete faith, and you just know she's going to lose that faith. Because she's going to find out who her parents were, and she's going to find out they're never coming back and never were. Or they got killed. Because I never decided who I thought her parents were. A large part of me thought she was Obi-Wan's daughter. But that could have gone anyway. I really thought it was Obi-Wan's kid. I thought that would have been great. Her being a Palpatine was interesting.
Do
It,
not
it
get me
wasn't.
started. It,
It was definitely a
Jesus.
choice. I don't. First off, I was like, "Oh, he fucks."
Yeah, that's literally my first thought. I was like, did he just find a galaxy prostitute and just like knock her
No,
out?
but okay, super weird in the Darth Vader comics, right? They kind of allude to the fact that he guided the midichlorians to give birth to Anakin. It's kind of insinuated that he made Anakin happen. I gotta go back and read it and see if they kept it. But in the Marvel comics, with the new round of them, the ones that all count, it's insinuated that he's not Anakin's father, but he is why Anakin's here. It's
Okay, because
interesting.
I don't know why my head was going to the fact that he like busted inside and used the force to spread the egg. Like,
Well, no, because in what you call it in the Phantom Menace, she says she had a virgin birth essentially. She's not Anakin does not have a father, is what she told Qui-Gon. So it is insinuated that because Palpatine is from the same planet.
yeah.
So it's insinuated that I don't know why he picked her, but that he did in fact guide the Force to create this child. Now, the Sith do long plays. That's not insane to me. But Palpatine already has a kid. But I guess if they're going to ignore that, I can see Palpatine having children. But again, Rey was his granddaughter. So the idea that he had a son and just let his son do whatever the fuck he wanted to do is insane to me. Like, how is your son not evil? Or how is your son not a part of your grand plan? How is he not a junior senator? How is he not involved in any of the Empire? So that was a jump, hop and a skip for me that I had a hard time accepting.
You know, it kind of brings up, right? You go back to episode 3 where they tell the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and you
Plagueis.
know that was kind of the theory going around too, that this whole idea of like eternal life wasn't actually like they were literally living together. It was or living forever. It
Mhm.
was that they're can control the midichlorians, and they are able to extend life or give life to things that wouldn't have life otherwise. So essentially, Palpatine's legacy is never theoretically it could never go away because he
Mhm.
probably has some sort of there's some sort of gene or cell or
Uh,
something within everybody, like because you know the thought was how are they finding where are they finding such powerful Sith and who's teaching them, right? Like,
yeah.
how are they becoming more and more powerful, like more and more powerful each time? Like, someone has to have that knowledge. If you've killed the most powerful one,
Mhm.
how who's teaching this person to be even more powerful than that one?
Well, based on the Sith code from the books, the Darth Bane trilogy, 3 books, where he establishes the rule of two. There always have to be two Sith, one to hold the power, one to seek the power. The master always finds an apprentice, teaches him everything he knows, and the apprentice must kill the master, and then finds his own apprentice. And that's how you keep the knowledge passed on. That's how you keep the Sith going stronger to the point they can eventually be strong enough to destroy the Jedi. That's always been like the guided plan. So following that, Palpatine is a descendant of that principle, of each teacher teaching the student to the point the student masters it and kills the teacher. So he is possessed of the knowledge of the entire line of the Sith, back to Darth Bane in the first, only going to be 2 of us. So it that of it tracks that level of strength. And but here's the ringer. Darth Bane figured out how to put his consciousness into a student's body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a knowledge that may or may not be passed down. So that, like, as far as the lore is concerned, they've never said when Darth Bane actually stopped existing, because he had the ability to take over every student after himself. Sidious is confirmed, I think, to be himself, not to be Bane. His teacher, unsure. But the Darth Bane definitely stopped at least with Palkius. So the idea of him being able to, instead of ceding his consciousness to somebody else, forcing the Force to create a child, kind of goes with the mastery of the dark side, the mastery of the very deep, crazy powers of the Force. And in Star Wars Rebels, they really get into the crazy powers of the Force because the main character Ezra starts unlocking some of these. One of the powers that the Force has is time travel, essentially, and he unlocks the ability to travel through the entire Star Wars timeline. And Palpatine tries to follow him into this time stream, essentially, because Palpatine realized he did it. And he's able to keep Palpatine out just barely, but the entire time Palpatine is just increasing his power in sorcery, increasing his knowledge of all things dark and light, hunting down every Jedi. Like, the sequel trilogy had so much to work with, I think, between the all the books and all the extended universe, all the stuff you can make up from the cartoons, from the video games. It was all there. Do you think Force Awakens was good?
I think it was good. I don't. It was not anywhere in like the top. I actually don't remember what the list I put up, but I wouldn't put it top five of anything. But it was good. It wasn't like it was. I was optimistic for The Last Jedi. After I saw Force Awakens, I was like, okay, I'm ready for The Last Jedi. I'm super hyped. I bought tickets like months ahead of time. Like, I was ready to go.
So, based on watching Force Awakens, what did you think would happen in The Last Jedi?
All right, what would happen in The Last Jedi? I thought that Luke would have died.
Yeah.
I thought he would have done a weird mirror of the Sith, right? Like, it would have been like a weird kind of backwards version of it, where instead of the Sith apprentice killing the master, is really Rey killing Luke.
Oh.
And then that would have kind of led her to be the bad guy in Rise of Skywalker, with Finn now, because now it's Rey and Kylo Ren together.
And Finn,
But they're not technically, they're not technically Sith, right? They're first, so like they're
first
just working
generation.
yeah. So then all you have left is, you got Finn, who now you have to train up to, like that seemed like that's where it was going. That's what I thought would have happened in The Last Jedi, because they would have, in The Last Jedi was going to be, well, Luke, like he's the Jedi are pretty much, the Jedi are pretty much over, right? Because now you have Finn, who is probably working off of hatred, because the love of his life is now the biggest badass in the galaxy, and then Rey hates the Jedi for, whatever reason. Kylo Ren's Kylo Ren. That's where I thought it was going to go, and we were all very wrong.
Yeah. So the way I saw it, definitely saw Luke getting killed. Definitely knew that. I really felt that Kylo would kill Snoke. I thought it'd be a lot more than what we got, mind you. I thought we'd know who Snoke was before he died. I didn't think of Rey killing Luke. But I thought we'd get the Knights of Ren, because in Force Awakens, they show the Knights of Ren being the ones who destroyed the temple, Luke's temple. So I don't know why Rian Johnson completely threw it out the window and rewrote how that happened. So I thought we'd get the Knights of Ren. I thought they would all be Force users who had lightsabers, Inquisitor-esque. Not full-blown Sith, but lightsaber using Sith. Or, Force wielders under him. I thought, it would be definitely a legion of Sith, and then you have Rey and Finn. You need those numbers to fight like 6 other people. I thought we'd get pretty amazing lightsaber battles, like we got in like we see in the Old Republic cinematics.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get something like that. Really expand how many lightsabers we ever see on screen. I love the idea, though, of Rey being the one to kill Luke. That would have been insane. And I feel like she wouldn't have joined Kylo. I think she would have challenged him.
So, all right, here is where this is where I was completely wrong, right? So,
Hmm.
Rise of Skywalker, how I thought was going to happen is that so we found all right, and it kind of worked once you found out what was happening in the Rise of Skywalker. So when she found out she was a Palpatine,
Hmm.
I thought there was going to be some kind of like I don't know, some like sleeper cell shit, right? Like some Bucky Winter Soldier shit. Like she's just gonna wake up and be like, "You're right, I am a Palpatine." I had a feeling that she would join Kylo in some sort of duo, but
Uh,
remember, Kylo was showing hints of teaching her how to use her powers, like trying to help her out through that whole communication channel.
yeah,
So in
trying to
my
make her
mind,
stronger.
I thought, yeah, exactly. So like I'm like, is she the apprentice? And I'm like, all right, is she killing Kylo? So maybe at the end of this whole ordeal,
Hmm.
she will be the she will be the bad guy at the end of this trilogy. Kylo's dead. Rey is technically a Palpatine, so she's technically the new baddie, right? Because Palpatine's like, Sith, go Sith, go Sith. Like,
Yeah. So I like the idea of her, because the way I saw it with Kylo trying to turn Rey, it's the classic Sith thing. The students get their own student and then kill the master because the rule of two got perverted. Instead of the student trying to kill the master on their own strength, the student would get their own and double team the master, and
yeah,
that's what kind of made the Sith weaker because they were breaking their own rule. Because why have rules if you're evil? So I thought maybe he's trying to turn her so the two of them could beat Snoke. Because again, I didn't think Snoke was such light work that Kylo could just trick him and cut him in half. But I loved in Rise of Skywalker when you see her when the lightning happens, and they insinuate she killed Chewbacca because she couldn't control this dark side power she unlocked. That was awesome. Kylo's shock of it all, like again, like you were saying, if we go back to the Jedi, the Last Jedi, and have it happen there, have her fall in the Last Jedi, and then have her and Kylo together beat Snoke, and then they have to sit and look at each other and figure out who's the student, who's the master here, and it becomes you were Snoke's puppet. I killed Luke. I had to help you kill Snoke. I'm the master.
yeah,
And having them have a serious fucking fight, Rey win it, and then Finn eventually turning Kylo, and then the two of them end up being the ones that have to take down, or maybe save, because maybe you don't end up killing her because it's kind of Disney now, but they ended up saving or defeating in some form or fashion Rey. Um, I don't. No, I think it would have been cool to have a woman be the big bad. They never do that. So I think it would have been amazing to see a final thing of Kylo. I guess it'd be Ben at that point. Finn befriending Ben, them kind of growing in the Force together, because he's being trained by Leia. He is Leia's son, so they have that connection, and a little jealousy there too. And they kind of he comes back to the fold with his adopted brother more or less. And the entire time Rey is falling further and further because Rey. You see, it works better if Rey's not a Palpatine. It works better if she is maybe a Kenobi who loses her faith because Obi-Wan chose Luke over her. Obi-Wan chose to save the Skywalkers and protect their family over coming back for her. I feel like that would be fascinating. Even if, because I guess he had to be a granddaughter of Kenobi's, but the idea that Obi-Wan abandoned her parents to raise the Skywalkers, I can see that corrupting her entirely. And then you get the whole story. You get her killing Luke as revenge for, not for revenge, just losing control. Once she finds out the truth of it all. Once she really finds out, oh, my grandfather chose you over my parents. They chose to save you and abandoned my parents. My parents got killed because they didn't have the protection you had. They didn't have that guardian angel, and that would absolutely corrupt anybody. That brings Rey to where we want her and need her to fall, and I think it's a believable fall, and I think it's one that people can kind of get behind. It's her entire life was built on the principle that my parents are coming back. That they're important people, they're good people. I'm important, I'm good. Only to find out you weren't important enough. There was something more important to you, than your family, than your happiness, and it was the galaxy. And on top of it all, Luke failed. You raise this kid to kill his dad. He does that. Leia becomes not the ruler of the galaxy, but kind of. But the First Order still comes back. Like you fail your grandson, and then you hide and run from the world, and you let the First Order exist. Because in the opening crawl of Force Awakens, they say that the First Order didn't rise until Luke disappeared. So it's only because Luke abandoned the universe that we get the First Order. So I can see her viewing that. I can see her viewing it as Luke betrayed the galaxy in his selfishness. And that her parents didn't sacrifice, but her grandfather's sacrifice to prioritize the Skywalkers was wasted because Obi-Wan decided, because Luke decided to give up on the galaxy. And her having such hate in her heart that the dark side grips her. Because the dark side is, in and of itself, kind of a living force. So you don't need a Palpatine to bring you to the dark side. Your own thoughts will do that. And I think...
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fail-safe of the Star Wars universe, is that you don't need Palpatine. You simply just need someone who can fall. Someone who can have that connection to the Force and be corrupted by it. And the potential was there. It was there, and it was a great potential. And I think I'm going to write a miniseries eventually about this, because for me, my big bad was Mace Windu. The way I see it, right? Mace Windu absolutely could have survived that fall.
Oh, jeez. Oh my God.
They have shown so many people fall further, higher, and survive. They even to the point that in the Clone Wars series, there's a evil Sith kid, Ventress, who attacks Dooku. Dooku forced lightning out a fucking window. She survives. So absolutely, Papa can do it. Anakin fell through a bunch of cars and shit out a fucking window. Bounced a bunch of times, grabbed the car, survived. So the way I see it, Mace survives, but he is scarred from fucking lightning, of course. He ends up getting his way down to the city underbelly of Coruscant. I forgot what it was called. It was some numbers or something. He goes down there to rebuild his strength. By the time he can go back to help, younglings are dead. Anakin's killed everyone. All the Jedi are gone. It's just him. It can't be done. So he changed tactics. He looks at what Palpatine did and says, well, I can do that too. The Jedi can evolve. We can be sleeper agents. We can infiltrate them. We can take a very long plan to destroy the Skywalkers, because that's who the enemy is now, and Palpatine. And so for me, the way this is done is he raises his kid and his grandkid to essentially be psychologists, therapists for the dark side, the person who keeps the entire engine moving. Because the dark side is full of broken people, the entire empire. And while I'm not saying it wouldn't be a mental health push, it'd be a form of manipulation to always have that person making sure you tag the strays, making sure you're always pushing everyone back towards the right line, And you have this very force-sensitive person, because the Empire always abducted force-sensitive people. Most of the First Order is full of force-sensitive people. And if you have that, you need a source of control. And the best source of control is emotional control, and that's why I think the therapist comes in. And so at the end of Force Awakens, Snoke says it's time to finish your training. And a large part of that training, to me, is having a psychiatrist essentially talking to Kylo to make him come to a sort of peace with killing his father, making him realize he had to do it, making him realize the glory of the dark side. But that psychiatrist is actually Mace Windu's grandson. And he's actually corrupt, that Snoke has perverted the rule of two, that everything that Kylo wants can only be achieved by killing Snoke. And then from there is to kill Luke, to kill the Skywalkers. And once Snoke is down, it is eventually revealed that he was manipulated by the therapist, who actually is a very powerful Force wielder. And at some point it comes across that, through all the manipulation, there's the only through line of the failure of Anakin Skywalker and the ripple that he caused and destroyed the galaxy through his own failure. And there's always repercussions of it. And I would love the idea of, I don't know about Finn being a Windu, but I think that ties it up too nicely. I do like how The Last Jedi tried to say it's not going to always be a Skywalker story. It's not going to always be a Kenobi or a Palpatine. There are other people in the world who have power. I like that idea. I just don't like the way they did it. I think it has merits that Star Wars is not going to forever be the Skywalker saga. That's fine. But I think there's a way you have to do it so that you're not disrespecting the fan base. And I feel like that's what Rian Johnson does with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess another interesting point that you have to bring into consideration too is that one, there's still unknown areas in this galaxy or universe, whatever. There's still unknown areas there, so there's always potential to say, hey, there's something even more powerful waiting in the wasteland, right? Like that's kind of like a classic plot device. You don't show all your cards at once. So there's that, but then also you have to think this is still a war, right? It's called Star Wars for a reason. It's not just called here's the galaxy, here's a bad guy. And the one thing in all wars is that there are plenty of things happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There are when we were over in World War II, World War One, whatever war you want to start with, yeah, we're fighting over there in boats and guns, but that doesn't mean that the government stopped researching nukes and laser satellite beams and stuff like that. And I mean, you go back to the whole. I mean, you can go into Last Jedi and see what they were planning to do there, but then you go 6 months later to Last Skywalker or Rise of Skywalker, and they were like, "Yeah, we built 100 ships to destroy planets," and no one knew. Not a single person knew. The rule that I go with Star Wars is that if I don't see a Force vision of you, you're still alive. That's just my
That's a great rule.
That's just my rule. If you don't show up in blue at any point in time,
if you're not a Force ghost, you didn't die.
Yeah, exactly. So it is very plausible that there are Jedi that are literally sitting behind the scenes, just saying, and it goes back to religion, right? I'm not sure what they're planning to do, in terms of this, but you have things like the Catholic Church, you have the Jewish religion, you have Christianity. Yeah, they're all different parts, and sometimes they conflict with each other and things like that, but there's someone holding this power behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And they're kind of controlling the narrative of things, right?
Absolutely.
There's no way you can tell me that there's just a constant tug of war when one group is so far ahead at one point, and then all of a sudden, years later, miraculously, hey, guess what? We're back in the fight, baby. No one so far, in this how many millennia that you guys have been alive has actually just won.
beaten, won the game. It's never been, it's really never been much of like a monopoly. So like there
Yeah.
has to be a third force that kind of throws things out there, right? Throws things in a wrench because
Honestly,
they
you know
like
what?
the
It should have
idea
been the
of balance.
Mandalorians. The Mandalorians should have been the third force because they had enough time to rebuild and to see the fall of the Empire, see the Republic is still weak, and to come storming through the galaxy. That would have been fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of makes me wonder what the idea was with Ray going with Kylo. Of course, you have, the storyline context of it. But one thing we really haven't seen a lot in the movies is this idea of classism, right? Like it's very
Yeah, because we've always kind of seen princesses and the Chosen. The lowest we got was Han Solo, and even then he was a class of pirate. And then I would say Clone Wars and Rebels does give you classism. Rebels absolutely because Ezra is a street rat.
okay.
And what the Last Jedi tried to do was give you classism when Finn went on the dummy mission to the gambling planet, and you had the servants who raised the horses. If the horses failed, the servant got killed too. Like they put that little
Yeah.
classism, capitalism is bad sprinkle. But no,
It was
you're
also
right.
never done from like it was always done kind of from a financial perspective, but not
Yeah.
from like a power perspective, right? You know how like the X-Men were like, we the X-Men are like, we need to lead because we're the chosen people and you have no powers, like you should not be ruling this
Oh,
world.
so essentially there was never a uh, openly and I am a Sith, so I'm going to rule you type of thing. Like you all are unpowered. We are the Force wielders. We deserve to rule all. There was never that. We never got that.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of almost made me think like, well, is that the reason why Finn got friend zoned? Like, did she just was like, you know
Oh,
what? I'm on a whole different level than you right now. Like, you're like almost dying from like captains, and I'm like fighting Snoke and Inquisitors. Like,
yeah. The
we're
power level's too great. That has to protect you. You can't protect yourself. Yeah, I could definitely see. That's interesting. 'Cause he definitely got friend zoned, and they definitely never had him really say how he felt, which is so weird because
yeah.
essentially everything he does in the Last Jedi is to save Rey, so Rey doesn't come back to death, and then he just kind of falls in love with the Asian chick for no reason.
And she took the so all right. This kind of leads to the reason why I even wanted to get on this rant in the first place of the stupidest fucking plot twist of all time. All right, the whole lesson they tried to teach you in Rise of Skywalker is man, these fireworks, man. But anyway, Rise of Skywalker, they try to teach you, your past doesn't dictate your present or your
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
That's literally like the overarching thing. Okay, great. Why the fuck did you get on the desert planet with like 30 seconds left in the movie? Man, woman says, "Hey, who are you?" And you go, "I'm Ray Skywalker." Bitch, no, you're not.
Oh man,
You're not. Like, you liar. You are a fucking
that was
liar.
so weird, so
It
fucking
was it was
weird. Like,
terrible, and it just made me so like mad. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? As stupid as a plot twist that is, if you were trying to become the ruling, like the governing body, your biggest politician's dead, the biggest Jedi of all time is dead, and you're trying to be the ruling body. What name are you taking? The Palpatine, who no one's talked about for 30 years because he's been behind the scenes just making clones of himself,
yeah,
or Skywalker, the brother to the greatest politician you have and the greatest Jedi ever. Like,
yeah,
you
the
can now be
savior of the
Drake
galaxy.
Skywalker. Exactly. You are now the ruler. You are the king, the queen, I guess. Like,
Yeah, you know what? You make a great point. If, because I guess all Ray really did was beat a very clear evil. I wouldn't even say that she did. She didn't really pull up from that dark turn she was almost making there. All she did
yeah.
was Palpatine was going to destroy the universe, so I stopped Palpatine. But is she really still like? there was no real test of if she was a good person. There was just the easy test of Palpatine's evil incarnate is trying to kill you. Palpatine was trying to kill her. He never gave her an opportunity to turn.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, and I mean, like, I'm even thinking about this kiss, right? They tried to hint at some relationship with Kylo and Rey, and it didn't really work. It felt like it was just going to be like a hookup, right? Like, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But then they get to the end of it, and then they just start like making out, and just like they're just like so passionate. But it was almost kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of moment. Like, oh,
Absolutely
you're a
was.
badass, I'm a badass too. Like, let's
Let's be badass.
make
Let's do this. Yeah.
yeah, just had to start making some kids and just almost restarting the kind of but Palpatine. Yeah, she's going the Palpatine way. Like,
Yeah. So like, because how does Rey even get there? Rey follows the holocron, and makes her way to Palpatine's planet, runs into Kylo, beats Kylo's ass, and then finds her way to
Yeah.
Palpatine. So like, was Rey going there to kill Palpatine or to find Palpatine? I don't remember.
I thought, what is she going there for, the truth? That's what she said. I thought it was like, I'm going for the truth, and then she effectively was going to kill Palpatine because she went by herself, right?
She went by herself.
Yeah,
She's going for the truth. She finds out she's a Palpatine from Palpatine. And
Yeah.
Palpatine's like, haha, tricked you. I'm gonna make you my perfect clone body now because my body's trash. So I'm gonna take yours. And it's like, but you could have just asked her to join you, bro. Like, I don't think he ever asked her to join him.
Yeah, that would have been much more interesting. Honestly.
Yeah. Because again,
Absolutely.
I don't think we've ever had a point that to prove that she didn't fall. 'Cause she was falling to the dark side fast.
She should have fallen.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
she did though. There's no proof she didn't.
It would have
Don't-
made her likable.
Well, that too. The only thing she really accomplished is killing the person trying to kill her. It doesn't make her good.
All right, she's not a. Here's the thing about being like bad, right? You have assholes who are completely bad, but guess who's also bad? A narcissist. And narcissists can be some of the nicest people on the planet Earth. Like, she pretty much straight up made a reality in her head and is sticking with it. She is not a Skywalker, but she's going to say she's a Skywalker, and it's going to be fact and truth for the rest of the time.
And how the hell did she know where to go bury those lightsabers? Like, who told her that lore? Where did she get that lore dump from to go to Tatooine and put these lightsabers in the fucking water farm? Like,
Well, here's what I'm also thinking, right? You have this whole mind thing, right? You guys are sharing consciousness and things like that. Mind control, kind of what you were saying, right? Mind control is not off the table for her. Like, she could have manipulated this whole situation, and then, like, at the post credit scene, like, her and Kylo Ren are hooking up, and he just stabs him in the dick, like.
I love the idea, and this is why I didn't. This is why I'm not really hard on the Rise of Skywalker. What the prequel trilogy showed me is that they can pull up these terrible trilogies with content in between. Like, Clone Wars animated series made the prequels amazing, so they can fix 5, 6, and 7. Oh, that's not right. 7, 8, and 9. They can fix that. The Mandalorian is already doing it. They're filling in gaps. They're making it make sense and be great. So, I think 5 years from now, this will all make sense and be a great era. Not great trilogy, but that era in time in Star Wars is going to look great. Because we'll have filled it in with the Mandalorian, with Ahsoka, and whatever else comes through. So, like...
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people, Rise of Skywalker did what it could with what it had. It bookends it for us. It gives us the end of it. It gives us the place where everyone stops. And it shows you how to fill these things in. It's like, cool, okay, so Palpatine had cloning tech. Mandalorian, they keep hinting and showing at cloning. They're trying to snatch Grogu to clone him. To figure out how to clone the Force. That's why they need Grogu. So because of the cloning tech that we got in Rise of Skywalker, we now get Grogu. And this entire quest to clone Force-sensitive people. You have to fill in we're never gonna fill in where Palpatine actually is. We gotta fill it. Eventually, we gotta know where he really is. We have to know how did the First Order really happen, and that's when we get Gustav, what's his face, having the Darksaber and building this new empire. We get flashes of that, flashes of the First Order being built. We get Luke with his first student and failing, with Grogu choosing to go back to the Mandalorian. So we get Luke, his first failure as a teacher, and so that starts spinning us towards Luke being disillusioned. Because first student leaves, last student kills other students or something like that in between. But we get Ahsoka back. We get to see her thing and what she's doing and how it's tricky. There's so many moving parts now.
Well, Palpatine. All right, to your point, I don't think Palpatine is dead. Right? I still don't think he's
at
dead.
the end of Rise of Skywalker.
I still do not believe he is dead, and only
he's gotta be gone.
It's just like, all right, if Palpatine is dead, he's not Palpatine any longer, right? Like, because I'm still one of those people that thinks Darth Revan is somewhere chilling. Like,
well, he should be because he turned. Did he die at the end of those games?
I don't know. I don't think he did. Like, because at the first one, he definitely didn't die.
Right.
But then the second one, I don't even think he was gone, but I don't think he died.
Neither do I.
But yeah, like if we go back to the
old though, he should be dead.
But like if you go back to the idea of government, you don't necessarily have to fight like hand to hand to make a difference, right? The government affects a million things from this, like at a macro level. Like just I mean, look, you literally look at people like Elon Musk who tweets the word Doge, and like people become instant millionaires. Like they can do so much stuff behind the scenes because the idea of the Sith is a holistic idea, right? And we're only talking about a specific thing. We're only talking about like one or two people like having hate in their heart. The Sith is a whole mentality. Like the whole thing is they're trying to take all of the shit over. There's things happening behind the scenes. Like there's some Star Wars Illuminati.
You know what we should have gotten? We should have gotten a Sith temple, a Sith, a rising of students for the Sith, and having to have Finn and Rey infiltrate this thing. That's what we should have gotten. Should have been Kylo's school.
You don't think that's going to happen? I think that's the next trilogy. There's going to be anarchy.
Who's going to do it?
Anybody, because now it's like we don't want you to choose the Sith or the Jedi. Rey's like, do whatever the fuck you want. Like,
see, and this is why I think it's going to be important because Ezra Miller, who is the main character of Star Wars Rebels, is in the world, and he's one of the strongest Jedi. So he would be. How old would he be? He's a kid when Luke takes down the Empire. He's like 15.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts him 45, 50-ish, give or take.
About, yeah.
He's a master at that point. He could start. Well, I can't see him teaching though, but they have too many strong Jedi on the board right now. Even though Luke's gone, he wasn't the only one out there. So, like, what you call it still alive? Ahsoka should still be alive. She's really old if she's alive, but I'm not sure how long that species lives.
I thought she wasn't a Jedi anymore. I thought she left the Order though.
Yeah, but that's like saying you can say that when there's 100 Jedi. When there's 2 Jedi, you're a Jedi. You were taught by all the masters. You were taught by Windu, Skywalker, Yoda, everyone there. You were a general in the Clone Wars. All the clone troopers bowed to you. You're a fucking Jedi. Like, it's being bratty to say you're not a Jedi at that point. That's like saying you're not a Mandalorian, but you're the last Mandalorian. Like, bro, I mean, but you know everything. You don't gotta really claim it, but let's not pretend that it doesn't exist. So, like, so she is there, Ezra's there. This kid they made in the Fallen Order video game.
Oh, Cal Kestis?
He should be alive unless they're gonna kill him in the next game.
First of all, look, Ian Gallagher is a ticket seller, so he will be in the movie.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he should, but he should still be alive. Of course, you have Ray, you have Finn, who should embrace his force powers because he fucking has them. Like the fact that he could
Right?
even duel an injured Kylo Ren and not be immediately murdered says he has
That's what I'm
incredible power.
saying, bro. He had lost his memory. He's he is a Jedi that has lost his fucking memory. That is it.
Who, Finn?
Hold on. You're saying Finnis?
Yes, look, he is way too talented.
He's not.
I
He's
thought
not.
he
He's not Jedi.
Honestly, I feel like they played Finn out.
Well,
Like
they did,
I
but
feel like they built him up in the first in their first renewal,
uh-huh.
and then they just kind of played his character out.
Ryan Johnson wrote him off as a side character, a super side character.
That's
So,
not
like-
what he did not read the rules.
No.
He did not read the
Well,
room at
so
all.
for me, so he's a regular person. He's not a Jedi. Like he joined up in the stormtroopers. I guess at that point they were just kidnapping kids and raising them. Super force sensitive. He had the talent. The same way Rey had natural talent, the same way Luke had natural talent, the same way Anakin had it, Ahsoka had it. He had the gift. And he lost to a better fighter. That's fine. And Rey had better natural talent than him. That's fine too. But they didn't have to write him off as, oh, he lost the duel, he's out, he can't be a Jedi anymore. No one's teaching him.
Okay, well here's all right. Maybe this is where I don't know a lot of my knowledge, right? But when you get a stormtrooper kid, right? Aren't they testing you for force powers?
Yes and no. So the way the Empire worked, and they kind of alluded to the First Order worked that way too. If you are force sensitive, they kidnap you, and they just put you into their army, and you get in where you fit in. Because the force just makes you hyper talented at things. So that
Wait, hold on. Before you go, we noticed a goddamn lie. Cause how many lasers have they missed? How many times did they miss their shot?
Because the ones who are that good are the ones in the black armor. They don't usually miss.
All right,
they're the ones in the
fair.
fighter jets. The fighter jets. They're the ones in the black ones rolling around with Vader. They're the ones in high positions.
Yeah.
So and the stormtroopers were garbage. The First Order troopers, they weren't bad, man. They were fucking people up. They weren't missing. These guys hit. So so Finn is force sensitive, but because like Kylo feels him in the beginning of Force Awakens, because he stops and looks at him, because he can feel Finn's force waking up, because the Force awakens. It awoken in him and in Rey. So his connection woke up puberty-esque, I guess. So the point of the First Order and that whole thing is to gather every force-sensitive kid you can and pick them off and turn them into Sith as they grow. When you find someone who uses a lightsaber, grab him. He's a Sith. He now is the next generation of this. You're always looking for the next student. So if you have all the force-sensitive kids in your army to begin with, you don't gotta worry about it. And again, if you're force sensitive, you are better at the army. You have a better shot. You have better luck. You have better intuition. All these things just make you a better soldier. And you move to the ranks highest. Like the highest ranking people in the First Order are force sensitive. They may not know they are, but Snoke does. Because Snoke keeps these people around. Snoke's the one who's, building this force sensitive army. So with Finn leaving the stormtroopers in the First Order and coming into his power, got cut through the back, went into a coma, bet. That happens. Tough break. Wakes up, it should be Leia being like, I can sense the force in you. Oh, but you're General Organa. Yeah. My brother's Luke Skywalker. I have the force. I am fully capable. Look at this thing float. I can teach you. Rey's not here. She's learning from my brother. Let me teach you what I know. That way, because all he wants to do is protect Rey. Let me teach you to protect her this time. You couldn't protect her the first time against Kylo. Let me make sure next time it happens, you're ready. Like, that would have been amazing. We'd have gotten to see her lightsaber. We would have gotten to she should have she should know everything Luke knows. Like building a lightsaber would have been an amazing thing to see those two do, to see them scrap together something that really spoke to who Finn was. You know, there's such the world building opportunity that was there was completely thrown away, and that makes me very sad. But I think it can be, like you said, the next trilogy, the idea of the Sith actually rebuilding out, actually bringing in these kids and teaching them the ways of the Sith, and not corrupting a single person, corrupting students at large, spreading the dark side through the galaxy versus just centralizing it, having an actual war of ideology, openly, we are Jedi, we are Sith, these are our ideals, pick a side, because the galaxy never had to pick a side in any of these things except for the prequels when you had the Trade Federation. But which is weird because that's just a union, which is really weird that they made the union the bad guys. But that's the only time the galaxy had to decide, and the galaxy did not know the Trade Federation was Sith. So it doesn't even really. There's a lot of potential. I'm excited for what the Star Wars future holds.
Yeah, I want to go, but I'm not pre-ordering my ticket again.
I can't not do it. I gotta keep going to that well.
I'll wait. Like I'll go up there like 10, 11:50 and see if like y'all got a ticket, and then I'll sit there and watch. Nice little blunt in hand. Got everything ready and stuff like that. But I'm not getting burned like I did with The Last Jedi, bro. They were talking about hope for like 45 minutes. They were like, "Yo, we about to die." No, we won't, because we got hope. They're right here, burning the buildings down. It's all right, hope. Like
how does Poe turn into some asshole who doesn't respect authority? Like,
bro,
how does Poe turn into I don't respect women? I don't care how great she is. She's not Leia. Fuck her what she says. I'm not listening.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
I don't trust her plan. It's like, bro, she doesn't explain shit to you. Like, why
Poe's
do you?
purpose is crazy.
They ruined Poe. I don't understand why Poe turned into that guy. Like, I don't understand. And that movie just doesn't make any real sense to the characters. Like, because like what Carrie was saying, like throw away the past. That's fine. If you want to ignore the original trilogy and the prequel, you can do that. But you can't ignore The Force Awakens because you're a sequel to that. You have to build on the foundation. The Force Awakens was the foundation. You have to build on it. You can't just say, fuck all that. Everyone's dead now. Like, first thing they do, Rebels have a secret base. Nope. First Order found it somehow. Okay. They're going to get Luke Skywalker to rejoin the fight. Nope. Luke hates y'all. Fuck y'all. Kylo Ren has a cool helmet. Nope. Kylo breaks his helmet in pieces. Fuck that. Like, Rian Johnson went piece by piece and destroyed everything J.J. Abrams built in like the first 20 minutes. And then he was like, now here's how I would have done it. And that's The Force Awakens. It's like, bro, if you want to do the first movie, you should have done the first movie. If you were going to sandbag the franchise, make a one-off. Make Rogue One. Make a standalone shit.
Bro, look, it's an alternate timeline. Sorry,
I wish, man.
It's like Earth.
I wish.
It's like Earth 616, bro. Like, literally the trailer is gonna be all the stuff that happened, and then it's boom, it's gonna wake up. It's a dream. Said, man, I had this dream that I had no powers, and I lost my girl to Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I had this cool dream, right? So I was almost a Jedi, right? Then Kylo Ren beat my ass. I got some licks in. And he said, I was going to train and everything, but then, I found out Rey was gone. So I went to find Rey, but I couldn't find her. So I went with this Asian chick instead. And we did this thing that didn't work. And then I said, fuck it, we're friends now instead. I'm just going to be kind of like, me and Poe are going to be besties. And we're going to kind of hint there's more there, but not touch that. And there's going to be like a trio going here, but not really touch that either.
Yeah, somehow, oh yeah, by the way, there are like 50 million ships on this planet. Oh, there's also like 50 Palpatines. Like, I think they're all brothers. Like, it's kind of like George Foreman. You got George.
Oh, and by the way, like 50 stormtroopers defected? Here they are. It's like, where did they come from?
No.
Who's this black chick? I am a stormtrooper too. You inspired me, Finn. When?
it's like weird because like you know what's funny underrated is that Star Wars is the king of just putting random things in a movie and you're just like, wait, what? Like what's going on? Like
Yeah.
if you watch Revenge of the Sith again, now lore wise, it makes sense when that kid shows up and starts fighting. But when I was watching it, I was like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" Like, I was like, "Yo, get out of here! You're about to get killed, man."
You fool!
Yeah, like, why would you do that?
It's because Star Wars is always winking at you. They're always like, "Don't you want to know what that was about? Go look it up. Go read a book.
Yeah,
Read our
they're
extended lore."
oh my gosh, yeah, they love them some extended lore. And granted, I do love the extended lore,
Yeah,
but at some point, I need you to start tying some of this stuff together. Is there's
that's
so
what
much
the
stuff
cartoons are
out
for,
there.
man.
I'm like, look, like I like you got. I'm still sitting here waiting for a KOTOR like movie. That's all I wanted.
We
I
need
just
it.
all I like
We
is
need
a
it.
KOTOR movie.
We need
I
it.
already got the cast like picked out, right? Like we'll make them just get a random white dude. I don't care who's
Haha.
for the main character. Then you get another random white dude, like freaking who's the dude from I don't know, make like Miles Teller freaking Carf because Miles Teller's so boring looking and Carf's boring looking, and then everyone else, just pick them based on what they look like.
You know,
It's not
it'd be
fun.
so easy to do. I think we'll see how the remake does when they put out the remake of KOTOR. And I think from there they're going to decide what to do with that property. Because
Yeah,
they have the High Republic comics running now, which is even before Old Republic. So I think they would probably rather go to the Golden Age back then.
yeah,
And if they go to the Golden Age, we can do Darth Bane, which is the penultimate series. Because that is Darth Bane's just a kid who joined the Empire essentially and was force sensitive, and they found that out, and they sent him off to the Sith camp, the Sith school. He rose through the ranks of that because he was naturally amazing. He found out, he found the old Sith temples, and then found out that you're not supposed to work together. It's supposed to be dog eat dog. And the title Darth essentially means I am the best there ever is. So he started calling himself Darth Bane, and was a challenge to all the other ruling Sith. He ended up fighting everyone. Like he declared war on the idea of Sith working together.
that is an anime waiting to happen.
Bro, it's fucking, it is the penultimate Star Wars story, and I think they're thinking about it. I need it in my life. I think it may happen. I don't know.
It's just so here's the thing, right? Like when Star Wars was coming up with a lot of this extended universe, and then you even get into some of the video games. I'm sure, of course, these side stories were made, with some canon in mind, but they were still wide open enough where you can find some way to finagle some sort of connection here, right? Like I think what people are forgetting is like Star Wars isn't like some like set line where it's like, all right, if you do this, then you have to do this. It is a universe, a whole universe. You can make anything up. If Marvel
Yeah.
can do it, Star Wars can definitely do it. And I'm thinking about all the old properties that they haven't really utilized in like years, but they've had the most interesting stories. So when I was a kid, N64, favorite game, Shadows of the Empire. It was hard as shit, but it was had a cool characters, had a cool villain. You fought Boba Fett. Like, like what else
Yeah,
do
so
I
they,
keep
they
it up?
have they have so much ability, and I think we'll see what we get. Because again, 7, 8, 9 didn't do what they wanted to do, but it laid the foundation to tell stories in this new world. We've established that new force sensitive people popped up like crazy. We've established that the Republic's fractured, but there are still good people around. At this point, you can tell any story you want in this sandbox, as long as you don't touch the Skywalkers and you don't touch Ren. Do whatever you want. The galaxy's wide open. The First Order doesn't have the grip that the Empire had. The Rebels don't have the grip that the Republic had. So everything's free game. So, we could get these amazing things happening in this new space. And if not, I'll just make it myself.
You know, Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And the one thing I also need to remind myself is that we have no idea where it's going, right? The sequel trilogy was a, a lot more what's the word I'm looking for? Like in scope, right? You go back to the original trilogy, okay, the lightsaber fights were pretty basic. You go into the lightsaber battles in the prequel trilogy, they got better. They still weren't great, but
Yeah.
episode 3 is kind of an epic fight. Then you get to something better than that, right? I feel like there also is some sort of technology constraint that shows up,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a reason why Infinity War did not happen in 2008. There's a reason, why where open world games were not being played until, now everyone's making an open world game because it's
Yeah.
easy to do.
Mhm.
There's probably a lot of stuff that's hard to show and be realistic in Star Wars. Like how do you show someone transferring into someone's body and you believe it, or someone creating life out of midichlorians, like little,
Right.
like and explain it. Like there has to be some way to visualize it, especially when you're in such a CGI heavy series
Hmm.
that if you're not able to do it and make it look good, then it doesn't matter because Star Wars now set a standard in 3D cinematography. Like
Yeah.
you have to set a standard. You can't just put something low budget in there for the sake of story. Everything has to be a spectacle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like technology right now as it is. We can do any of the stories. I feel like they're all open and all available, and hopefully, I think they're going to stick to TV for a little while, and then maybe venture back into the movies, maybe in like 8 years. Hopefully sooner than that. But I think right now the bread and butter of Star Wars universe is TV.
There is a lot to go on. Do you see the Jedi Survivor trailer?
Yes, yes, that looks.
All right. Yeah, it looks really good. I don't know where they're planning to go with this, but all I saw was like, I'm like, is Star Killer in it? Like,
I think it's him.
and I'm like, is Star Killer? I'm like, he's fucking canon. He's canon. He did it. I was like, oh my god, do you give me a Star Killer TV show? Like, it's over.
They have so much to work with, and again, like I said, all these force powerful people just in the universe still that never got killed off, kind of gotten like just put out to the side. Like there should be a call to arms at some point, and all these people show up. Like if it had been the Knights of Ren versus, there were folks to call. Like you could have gotten these legendary people coming in, like Luke turned the beacon on, like Luke being like, "I can't help you, but I have some friends who can," and you have this assembling of these people. That would have been, you know. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Everything so far is a destruction of a planet. I'm still waiting for a black hole, a produced supernova. Like we got, like there's still, like you said, there's a lot to go on. Like what other wacky way to kill off the galaxy can you find next?
I would love an artificial black hole, dropping it in the middle of a galaxy and all the planets slowly getting pulled to it, and so you're like racing against the clock to stop this black hole. That would be dope. And you have like some kind of like how like in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, they're fighting in that the whirlpool. Have a starship version of that, fighting as the ships are being pulled in. Give me a fight on those, you know? I think that'd be really fucking amazing.
That, and I hope so. Here's my one hope for the next trilogy is like, yes, I get it. Jedi and Sith are the main, characters, heroes, villains of the story. I want a human villain, and a human villain that actually remains in power throughout the entire thing, right? Like, I don't know how you would do it, but I think that a human needs to do it because there's certain things and certain aspects we haven't seen yet, right? Like all right, midichlorians. If you find people that have affinity to midichlorians, why don't you chemical warfare? Like, just kill off the entire, like, because that's the idea, right? We haven't seen that idea yet. Where
what
like
we're talking about is Mandalorians. It's Mandalorians. You're talking about Mandalorians holding a throne and holding the galaxy. Because again, we're once again primed for Mandalorians to sweep through and be the ruling class, bring the order to the universe. Stop falling in behind these Jedi and Sith. Fall in behind humanity. You know, fall in behind your own strength, built your own way to defend us. I think that and then it turns into both the Jedi and the Sith being viewed the same way from the outside.
Or you find out, you know, being a Jedi is actually not a power; it's actually a disorder. You actually are now you're actually fated to die.
I mean, I can definitely see the galaxy turning into hunting Force users because they know it will lead to. They know if the Jedi rise, the Sith will counter it, and vice versa. And the only way to save yourself from the Sith and the Jedi is to make sure neither exist. The only way to balance it is for the number to be 0. And that just being the Mandalorian creed, to take out every Force user there is. That way there's never a chance that anyone can rise. Because while the Jedi can do good, they're not equipped to stop the Sith when the Sith rise up.
Do you think we get some time travel in the next movie? You think we get the
I don't think we'll ever do
going back to the first to kill the first child, the first
I think.
Force?
I mean, I was surprised Rebels even touched on time travel because that's a ball of wax you don't want to fuck with. But they did. Like, I cannot imagine that a movie will do it because time travel movies, they're gimmicky at this point. It's hard to do it well. So, I think that I think they'll leave time travel alone. I think the comics will probably touch it because even with the Vader comics, they had it so that Vader saw his future. He knew Luke was his son. He knew Luke would kill him. That's the only way to kill the Emperor. Is that exactly how it happened? He knew that was going to happen. And comic-wise, he knows it the entire way through. So I don't want them to touch time travel because it's muggy. They already have too many things that rewrite canon.
Yeah.
The last thing you need is Mace Windu killing some time travel kid and having to make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is something that George Lucas is, or that we are missing from Star Wars that's probably been right underneath our like heads, and like it's going to all make sense because why we keep going back right to that the romance. We're romanticizing the original trilogy and everything we're doing.
Yeah.
Right before, right after, you know, like
we're at all times trying to make it make sense and make it fit and expand that simple 3-arc story instead of just closing the book on the Skywalkers and refocusing it to be, you know, the Force, the have and the have-nots, the Force wielders and the regulars, you know, the Mandalorians or whoever else, the syndicates, and the Force-empowered generations. It really should simply be like I think there's a great story to be written where it is decided that to ensure we never get Sith, we can't have Jedi. And I think that is where it should go. Because it's such a great story.
It's also built. It is a space opera. It is a space opera, which is a subset of a soap opera. And just like all soap operas, especially the ones that I had to watch with my grandma, the same family is still ruling over. It's still central to the plot. 40 years later, like there's, you know, we're only going on one avenue, right? Of like direct. The only avenue we've gone on is a direct descendants. A family tree.
Yeah.
We have not touched associates, companions, rivals. Who have you met during the years you've been chilling with? There's no way.
Like Finn could have been Lando's kid. Like that would have been a cool little spin.
Yeah.
Lando could have had a Force sensitive kid.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, it kind of brings up the point where people say Force sensitive people attract Force sensitive people.
Yeah.
Like it's the laws of attraction. You know, if they're in your story, there's probably some sort of Force in there. I mean, just think about it. You can't be circumstanced that you get Poe, who's one of the most amazing pilots you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get Finn, who's a defected stormtrooper that can that can wield a lightsaber. Like, way too convenient.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do though? I'm about to hop off, man. I'm supposed to be watching my friend's stream, and I'm not.
Yeah, go ahead, man. I'm disappointed he didn't show up. I was ready.
I am not surprised at all. But I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna go to him in here. I'm gonna get him in here eventually. We'll
All right,
see.
yeah,
Next
please
time he's
let me
popping
know.
shit about something, I'll bring him in here.
Got you, man. I'll talk to you.
All right, man. Peace.
Episode 6.
That is six.
Episode 6 was another
You know-
episode you can expect for us to usually have every season, and that is our Pillow Talk. If you don't know, Pillow Talk is just talk about sex and